Yeah, we're coming up to nearly an hour. I can't believe we've been on this for so long. But I have got one last question, guys. I want to go through it because I think it's fair to Benjamin, who's asked this question. So let's just rattle through it just so we can complete this thing for today. So Benjamin says, I'm thinking about buying a property at auction, but I'm scared and nervous about the process of bidding. Are there any tips that you can give me? So nice and short and sweet. Thank you for that, Benjamin. Great question. And this is something that I particularly like auctions, to be honest with you. I was very nervous about them, like yourself, Benjamin, when I first found out about them. But buying a property in auction can actually be a thrilling experience if you can overcome your nerves. And that's one of the biggest things that puts people off, because they think they're going to get really, really nervous. They think they're going to bid over the odds for this particular property, and they're going to cause themselves a bit of an issue. So look, the tips I can give you is you need to, first of all, be prepared before you go into the auction room. Okay. So you need to have done your research about the property itself. What's it worth, when it's done up, because most of the properties at auction that are sold tend to be needing in some TLC. So what's it worth when it's done up? Are you going to live in it? Are you going to rent it out? Are you going to sell it on? And then check out the registration process for going to bid at that property auction. Okay. Sometimes you have to be registered in advance, and some auctioneers will request that you put a deposit on account or have verification from a solicitor that you've got your deposit on account with them, so that they know that you're a genuine bidder and you can pay for the property on the day, because that's what going to be or at least pay for your deposit, should I say, on the day when the hammer falls. Okay. So you need to check out all of that work, and obviously make sure you've got your funding in place in order to buy the property. Now, if you're a cash buyer, that's not going to be a problem. But if you're reliant upon a mortgage, you might not meet the auction deadline to buy the property within. And some auctioneers will do 7 days, some will do 14, 28, or any variation, in terms of your time frame from when the auction finishes to when you've actually got to complete the purchase of the property. Okay, so that can be something that happens before you've actually got your finances in place to buy the property, and therefore you might need to look at taking on bridging finance, which can start to get very, very expensive very quickly. So there's a lot of work to do up front. You also need to make sure your solicitor has checked the legal pack before you go into the auction room and start bidding on a property. And because all this work has to be done up front, a lot of buyers tend to get put off, or they do the worst thing possible, which is, you know what, I'll figure it out as we go along. And they turn up and they haven't read the legal pack, or they've just skimmed through it and don't really know what they're doing. Then they bid away on the auction night, and then the hammer falls. And then 2 weeks later, they find out they shouldn't have bought the property, and now they're in a bit of a pickle because they can't pull out of the purchase. Okay, so it's very different to private treaty. So you've got to do your work up front. I would always want to be in the auction room myself rather than doing anything online. So I wouldn't want to do it through a computer screen. I actually want to be in the room. I don't want to do it over the telephone. I'd rather be in the room doing the bidding, because I want to know who my competition is and whether or not the auctioneer is bidding me off the wall or taking bids from thin air, or is he genuinely taking bids off another party who is in the room. Okay, so that's one of my biggest tips I can give you. I also would say to you, you need to arrive early, get in the room, get at the back of the room. Okay, be visible to the auctioneer so that they can see who you are and where you are in the room. And then in terms of your bidding strategy, this is something I talk about a lot in Home Buyer Secrets, to be honest with you, but I never start bidding until right towards the very end of the bidding process. Okay, so the auctioneer will start off the auction and he'll say £100,000, 105, 110, 115, 120, and he'll build up his momentum. And they'll get to a point where all the momentum starts to peter out, and then one potential buyer thinks they've got the property. So let's say there are 135,000 or whatever the price might be, and then the auctioneer says going once, going twice. At that moment, I will then bid. Okay, because what I don't want to do is to be in a position where I'm part of the momentum that's driving the price up. Okay, I only want to come in when all the momentum's gone and it's still below the price that I want to pay, my ceiling limit, if you like. And that's one of the most important things you need to have in place, Benjamin, is to have a ceiling price that you will go up to, but you will not exceed. And one of the things I've seen people do when they go into an auction room is to have a few pints of Guinness before they go into the auction room to calm the nerves. But of course, that ceiling price then goes out the window, right? So they end up paying way over the odds for a property because the alcohol's done all the talking for them. So definitely don't drink. But the point is, you've got to have that ceiling price in mind. And then when the bidding starts, you know that you're going to go up to that price and no further. Okay. Because once you've set yourself that discipline of that limit, stick to it. But just coming back to what I was saying about the bidding strategy, go right up to that point where the momentum's gone out the room, going once, going twice, then make your bid. And that will slow everything down. It will also knock the confidence of the other buyer in the room, which sounds like a horrible thing to say, but the point is that they will think they won the lot at that moment. They think they've won it. But when you step in, it's like, oh, now I've got to start that fight again. Do you know what I mean? So then you might bid 140, for example, and they then go, oh, do you know what? Do I want to pay over 140 because that was my ceiling price? Okay, I'll go 141. And your ceiling price is 145, right? Now, if they've gone 141, the auctioneer might come back to you for 142, and most buyers will go, yeah, I'll go 142. Then it's 143, 144, 145. Oh, now I can't bid because I'm over my ceiling price, right? So what you do is it goes back to the other guy for 141, and you go, no, I'm not bidding. And the auctioneer's like, okay, you're not bidding, you just came in at 140. Okay, so going back to the other guy, going once, going twice, guess what you're going to do? You're going to come in with another bid, right? And you keep doing that up to your ceiling price because it wears the other guy down and it kind of lets them know that you're not going away. But once you've reached a ceiling price, if he then goes back in at 146, leave it well alone, all right? Because you could end up chasing it and then you end up spending a lot of money. All right, so I just want to give you those little tips. There's a lot more that I talk about in Home Buyer Secrets, Benjamin. So if you're interested in knowing a bit more about auction strategy and how to really dominate the room, I'd recommend getting a copy of Home Buyer Secrets because it will show you exactly how to dominate the room. I call it the big dog strategy. To be honest with you, it's one that I kind of came up with because of trying to blow other competitive investors out of the room and sort of blow them out of the water so that I could take lots away from them that were otherwise going to sell for way more than I could afford. So well worth a read of that to get a bit more of an understanding about how the murky world of the auctions work. But hopefully that's given you some strategies on how to go forward. It can be nerve-wracking. You just got to have nerves of steel, and the pain only lasts for a few minutes, if I can put it that way. So, when that lot comes up on the screen, your heart will start beating fast. You'll be like, okay, just keep calming yourself down, deep breaths, deep breaths, deep breaths. Go through the bidding process, know your ceiling limit, and then stop at that limit. Because I have been to auctions, and in fact, we actually did this at an auction once where we were the auctioneers. And I'll never forget, my colleague was auctioning the property. I was keeping a record of the bids, right? And we had two couples that were bidding for this property. One was right at the front, they were a young couple, and the other couple was a developer and his young girlfriend at the back of the room. And the developer got to a point where he backed out. He said, no more, I don't want to pay any more for this property. And the bid was with the young couple at the front of the room, right? And they had this big argument at the back of the room whilst the auction was going on live. They had this big bust up. And the developer's girlfriend walked off to the other side of the room, the other corner of the room, and started bidding herself on his behalf. And we just looked at each other like, is this really going on? And they're like, yeah, it's really going on. So all of a sudden this bidding strategy started again. And they ended up paying, this developer paid 15, 20 grand, way more than he wanted to pay for this building. And unfortunately, the first time buyers didn't get the lot, but he had to pay for it because it was his lot on the night, right? So auctions can be a lot of fun. And what I would say to you, Benjamin, if you don't have to if you don't have to go to your first auction in order to bid, it's well worthwhile just going to a couple of them to check them out. There can be a lot of good fun. Just make sure you don't wave to your friend across the room or anything like that. You know what I mean? Just have a little bit of fun, taking it all in, seeing what it's all about, getting a feel for the room, getting a feel for the auctioneer, what their style is, how they auction properties off. And again, now with all the restrictions being over, you can start to get into a room and see how that all unfolds. All right. So hopefully that helps, Benjamin. It's been a pleasure to sort of outline that with you because I do like auction rooms. We've had some really good stuff out of auctions in the past. So Hope that helps. And yeah, I've enjoyed answering another question for you, Benjamin. So thank you so much for that. And I think, to be honest with you, that brings us to the end of what has turned out to be a very long webinar. And I apologize that things have gone on a little bit, but I've really enjoyed this one this week. And it's been the end of, as I say, quite a trying couple of days for us personally. So it's great to be able to get on here and sort of share some stuff with you that I'm really excited about, which is all the property stuff. Hopefully we're giving you a ton of value. I'm going to encourage you to share these webinars, please, with your friends and family. Please help us get the word out on social media. There's a lot of people that are struggling right now with the uncertainty in the marketplace, with the trying to buy and sell, and they're hitting roadblocks. They don't know who to turn to for answers to their questions. I'm not saying we have all the answers to all the questions, but I will say we've probably got 80% of the answers, which I think is good enough, and we can get other specialists in to answer the rest. So please, I'm going to encourage you, if you've got value from anything that we've said here today, please share this with your friends and family. Please help us get the word out on social media. We're really excited to be able to offer this value to people. And I want to be able to bring more people on the journey with us to really transform and revolutionize the housing market. So any questions that you've got for us, get your friends and family to send them in. You can send them in as well. Happy to help at wiggywam.co.uk. That's happy to help at wiggywam.co.uk. You can go to our website, again, which is wiggywam.co.uk, or you can find us on Twitter, which is wiggywam_UK. And yeah, we'd just be delighted to hear from you with any questions, comments, feedback that you might have. And yeah, look forward to welcoming you on a webinar very, very soon in the future. All right. Thanks for joining me, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I'll look forward to seeing you all again next week. All right. You take care. Bye-bye.